I mean, that's what I think, and then put them in my pocket. It's
Yeah.
purely so you can see that this is what I look like. Plus, if the guy or gal is intelligent, that's proven that makes them smarter. So I don't know. What's your idea about props? Oh, by the way, first of all, I probably should say, Jodi Rothfield, give us a little bit of background. Remember that question. Tell us about yourself. I'm talking like we've been old friends and we're taking off where we left off before in
As of
melodrama.
yesterday, right. So my background is actually music. I was a music producer, manager, the whole nine yards in the MTV era in New York. And I got tired of living in New York. I'm born and bred New Yorker. And I went to LA with my best friend in New York, Ronnie Yeskel, who has since passed. But Ronnie was a very well-known casting director.
Right.
And we both moved to LA to see where we could go with it. And I sat and sat and sat. And the minute she arrived, she got the position of being casting director at LATC, Los Angeles Theater Center, which was
Well
a
done.
very prestigious
Yeah.
position, but she wanted to do film. So she worked there. And while I was waiting for something to happen for me in music, which never quite did, she brought me in to assist her, which was a lot of fun for a single young woman with all the young actors. And it was exciting to go to the different studios. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, in the course of my helping her out, her friend Gary Zuckerbrod, who is still with us, thank goodness,
Yeah.
he was doing a lot of movies of the week and movies. And in those days, movies of the week were big
They were
and a
big.
lot of regular feature films. And he needed an assistant, and she suggested that he take me on. So I went along with him, and that's where I really learned how to be a casting director, because the first job that we did, well, actually, the first job we did was Shocker, No More Mr. Nice Guy, which is one of the most famous and original horror flicks.
Yeah.
Which seems to be the genre today. It's revisiting us, unfortunately.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is. He did something called Dream Street for Bedford Falls, which was the production company that did 30 something. And they
Yeah.
were all on the East Coast, the producers and directors who had to see who he was looking at. So after the session, and when you're an assistant, which is what I was, where you're sitting outside greeting the actors, signing them
Yeah.
in, making sure he has his scripts, all that stuff, I would sit with the production person who was hired to edit the tape to the people on the he wanted certain people on the tape to remain, and certain cuts, certain shots of them, and then we would send that to a late night delivery for the next morning in New York. So
Crazy.
I
Yeah.
sat with the production person, so I got to see not only what each of the actors that came in that sat in my waiting room were able to do, but I got to hear him direct.
Wow.
So for the first time in my life, not having been an actor or a performer of any kind, music was my background. I really got to see the dynamic of, first of all, your taste, and then what you do to adjust actors, what actors come in with, what they do in the room, and
Right.
then hearing Gary's directions. So I learned so much from the several years that I was with him. And I continued that in Seattle. I came up to Seattle to be with my now husband. And I didn't even know there was casting here, but there was, in fact, casting because there's a very rich theater community here. And so
Beautiful.
people doing film and television or commercials or whatever was for the
Yeah.
camera were able to pull in those actors. And they were from all over the country and some international as well, and really fabulous, skilled actors, even though their forte was definitely theater.
Right.
Good acting is good acting and bad acting is bad acting. It's a matter of tweaking
Doesn't
once you
matter.
get them in the room. And we used to have a room. So they used to come and we would tweak. And that's how we got the performances we needed for camera work. So that's my background.
So, okay, a couple of things that came up that you brought up. First of all, what did your husband do?
Oh, we're not talking about John.
Oh, okay, forget John.
He's a
John,
political
forget it.
activist.
Sorry, I tried, John. She wouldn't do it.
He's they like to call him a shit stirrer. I don't even know if that can go on the
What
internet.
is that?
So he's an activist. So he's
Oh, awesome.
a
Enough
left.
said. We
Yeah.
love that. We love that. Okay,
Well,
so the
Seattle's
next,
very, very to the left, as you know.
yeah, that's cool. So here's the question that comes to my mind because you talked about a pretty wide geographic when you talked about actors. Is there a difference, and what is it between New York actor, LA actor, Seattle, and perhaps over the on the other side of the water? Because I make this joke all the time. People go, "What do you believe, Will, is the best quality of an actor to become an A-lister?" And I go, "A British accent." So
Ah,
so
I
tell
would
me,
not agree with that.
oh, good, thank God, because you're a
Or
cast.
dialects.
Because
You know,
every
you
time
would
I
do a
look at a
dialect
movie,
that
I
was
go,
absolutely germane to the script. You would never pick to do a dialect, even if you thought it was an interesting choice.
yeah, well, I see a lot of films. I mean, we all do. Where you see the films and you go, oh, yeah, okay, that's another British actor doing an American accent. And anyway, so any thoughts? Because LA, I mean, LA
I do
is
have
LA.
thoughts. I
What do
do
you
have
think?
thoughts about that. And I'll tell you what they are. So there are good actors everywhere. It's really about the amount of experience that an actor has getting their hands on scripts that are for the medium that you're bringing them in for. So for instance, when I first came here and I still go to copious amounts of theater. It's my love. I love theater actors and I bring them into my room for auditions and I only cast for camera work. So it's not that when they come in, they're not wonderful actors, it's that they don't necessarily have the skill of taking a script for the camera and making it work for the camera. So they have to be directed. And that's the joy of having a wonderful actor come in and just giving them an adjustment. And once you tell them what you want, they're able to give it to you. So there really is no difference. It's about the skill level of auditioning for a certain medium. And even for camera actors who've never even set foot on stage, which are many, many, many of the actors who come in for me,
Can't
it's
imagine
just
that.
a matter of experience because you do get comfortable with what to do with the written word for a certain medium. And you have to be directed by different directors. You have to have your hands on different kinds of scripts. That's what makes an actor a skilled auditioner. They can be a wonderful actor, but
Mhm.
they don't have the experience of being skilled auditioners because they haven't had that experience enough. That's bottom line.
Yeah. Interesting you say that because I remember back a few years ago when I started in the 80s that I had done years of theater, years of it. And I love theater. That was my first love. I was like, I'm going to Broadway. That's what I'm doing. Did a lot of musical theater because I dance, sing, act stuff. But I started doing commercials and a lot of lighting standing stuff because I wanted to learn everything I could. But that first moment when you get in front of a camera and they're like, okay, we want you to do this. And you're going, okay, I'm over here. And they're going, dude, are you a theater actor? I mean, there is such, as you said, there is such a there's a big difference between theater actors and TV and film actors because theater actors know we get one chance and we do it. And we might be able to, we can improv because that's what we study and everything. But getting in front of the camera and having them realize that you are so close and the audience
Very
normally
intimate.
is
Yeah.
so far away. Like when I did Cirque du Soleil, we were so 2,500 seat theater in Vegas, and it was like out here, and it was so difficult because I hadn't done that theater for a while, and I was in Cirque du Soleil for 4 years, and it was, I had to go back to being broad. And then when I was doing not doing that and shooting something, so it is something that is, I imagine, because you teach a lot of these skills.
The
Do you,
theater actors.
yeah, right.
I
Do
teach
you?
them how to parlay their skills as theater actors, which is still acting, right? Acting for the camera, which is more specific. You mentioned that a theater actor, it's broader. And for a camera, it's in your face, it's more intimate, so it's more specific. Your choices have to be very clear, very clean, and very small. But what I found with theater actors was that the experience they had had coming from the theater and then coming in for a camera audition was that they were always told to bring it down and they were too big. So that kind of paralyzed them. And what they did to compensate for being told all the time they're too big is they did nothing because they were afraid everything they did was an exaggerated thing. So I had to teach them that your choices are the same, but your delivery is different.
Right. Internalize it, not externalize
Right?
it.
You're not playing to the 43rd row anymore. They don't have to see you gesticulating wildly. Just talk,
Well,
and of course, because I come from New York, I say, well, just talk.
just
If you
talk,
just
and just
talk, it'll
talk.
be fine.
I'm from Chicago, so I get it.
How do you say it?
Just talk. I get
Talk.
that. I say soda pop, so I don't know. Anyway, so all right, let's talk about the industry and the lack thereof in this current day and time. I mean, everything is it is what it is, and pardon me. Um, and everything morphs and changes. We talked about yesterday, and I'll bring it up again, that back in the day, I remember going in my agent's office, and you see the wall, and you see all the headshots, and you're like, oh, good, I'm up there and not down there. And, you had to go out and copy. And the biggest problem that we had as actors back then was to make sure the staple was on correctly so you didn't kill the person, the agent or the casting director picking up your headshot and resume. But with that being said, it's a whole different ball game. And I've seen a lot of my other veteran actor friends go, yeah, I'm done. I'm going to go do something else like real estate. I have a lot of real estate friends now. And,
You're
that's
talking about the amount of work as opposed to the quality of doing the work.
both. So the amount of work is sometimes more because we don't have to worry about, like, I'm here in LA, I'm auditioning for here, or you're in Topeka, Kansas, you're going to audition for some local commercial. You can now go across the globe, as I told you before. I think I got in there about something in Mumbai or in New Delhi. And I got a call and I'm talking to them. I mean, that's not something that 20 years ago was a commonplace thing for the actor to have a conversation about that. You
Right.
might be pitched for something overseas, but yes, that. And the boundaries are much bigger, and now the quality is a little bit different because of this little guy. Because as I mentioned before, Blair Witch came out. I was working as a Fox Kids Club host on air when they cared about kids. Always going to do that joke. Um, is that Blair Witch came out and they were shooting it on some 16 millimeter. It looked like they had dirty lenses. It didn't matter. So that changed the advent of what was acceptable. So it became not the person, a filmmaker that had to find a million, 2 million, 5 million, $10 million to make a film. They can shoot it on this and spend 20 cents and could be almost at the same, if not higher than what currently is happening now with producers, directors, and streaming people. So I guess I'm asking you for a take across the board.
Well, things have definitely changed as things do. They're supposed to. Technology has made, making films can put that in the hand of the average person who has an idea, which I think is fabulous.
Awesome.
Um, just more things there. I believe if there are more platforms for actors to work in and around, we're good. So in that respect, I think it's great that now all these new venues for actors to get work are opening. That's wonderful. What I do think is that the industry is shrinking, and I think we talked about this yesterday briefly, and it's my big point because coming from music where the exact same thing happened,
Yes.
people who are in charge of reading the treatments of taking the ideas that they think are interesting to the money people, which is what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're no longer the creatives. They themselves are accountants and they're lawyers, so their sense of their interest in things basically are predicated on what's already been successful, which means you're getting repetitive stuff, the same themes, the
Exactly.
same concepts. Everything is repetitive because they see that something succeeds and they think, well, we'll just follow that trend. And I had the same thing in music when I was shopping tapes of musicians because they would go through. In those years we had a boom box. Now I'm dating myself. And the executives would sit with their finger on the fast forward, and if they didn't hear a hit, meaning something that they knew had succeeded previously, then they were done with listening to the tape. And I was bringing very inspirational, very new wave things in a time when that was really the thing. But
Yeah.
these people didn't have an appreciation of it. They really didn't understand the creative process, nor could they appreciate anything that was different because that wasn't their orientation. Their
Right.
orientation is what has made us money and what's going to continue to make us money. Well, that
Right.
is exactly what I think you and I are experiencing now in the
Yeah.
film industry and broadcast is like they want to make money. It's very expensive, even though the technology is there to make it cheaper. It's still very, very expensive to get the whole production made and to
Mm.
be seen and distributed and the whole route. And so they really want to make money. So they want to go with what's been done. And now that these big corporations are going to be owning all the platforms, like one or two or three, you're going to get one set of taste.
Yeah.
You're going to get people who are interested in stuff that's new or interesting or new people. These people just want to make the buck. And that's always been capitalism to some degree. But now in
Sure.
our field, in an artistic, creative field, that's death.
Yeah.
I think
Enter the vertical. Yeah. Um, and now I'm seeing every day, like today, there's a new platform out there. You can submit your own thing, and everybody's like, yeah, and I spoke to two other actors the other day saying, yeah, I did a vertical and I'm doing this and that. Here's one thing that comes up a lot, and I'm dying to get your answer on this one. I keep seeing auditions that say no acting experience necessary.
Mm.
I mean, you're literally asking for a production to be low level. And you're asking, I mean, I get the idea of, look, I got an influencer who's got a million. I did a horror film with, and I played a priest. I get a lot of priests. It's weird, but I'm always a priest that is like there's something wrong with him. But the point is that we have a ghost. I did that with David Harbour and the ghost, and the point I want to make is that there was an influencer, and she was this young lady that very well known, had a million followers, and this was I did this film with her. I did 2 days on it. She had already been on her sixth film, and it was all based upon the fact that she had a million followers. And, the guys, the producers, and I say guys, are like, yeah, we want her in this thing and all that fun. And I'm like, the quality, you're just saying to the industry that we don't care about being artistic. And if you look at the vertical, because I have a full script that I've torn apart with ChatGPT and other things, there is a formula. They don't want character development.
Yeah,
I'm
ours
now
formulaic.
it's,
Yeah, that's
it's
exactly the point. It's
all it's
formulaic.
this little formula. And basically, I say verticals are, I've been saying that they're kind of like they're soap operas and reality shows all in one. And now one of the things that's happening is there's an awful lot of violence towards women on them. So I've got this hashtag I put out called hashtag violent vertical violence. And it's like insane the things that they're doing to these people, women in films. And it's like I'm wondering why what happened with Me Too. And anyway, I got off on another subject here, but the verticals are a great example of like Costco or something, you know? You
I
understand what
don't
I
cast
mean?
those. I'm known as an actor's casting director. I don't cast extras, and I will cast. Obviously, there are many things that I'm asked to cast where the actors don't speak. They have to act in terms of their movement and be alive in their bodies. I mean, being an actor is more than just saying words, you know. But I don't take those projects, and I have to be honest, I haven't been offered those projects, and maybe that's something I ought to look into if I want to continue in this field. But
There
my
are
thing
so
is
many.
actors. I don't I sometimes I'll do a piece and they'll want someone who's a contortionist or has a real skill. That's come up many times in films, television, and commercials where they want someone with a special skill and they'll hand them a line and they'll give them a line read, and I totally understand that. But generally the projects that I work on require actors or they wouldn't call me because basically a casting director like me, not an extras casting person,
Yeah.
I'm hired for my knowledge of the talent pool, my taste, and when it was done in a studio, my ability to get a performance from an actor.
Right. And not to wrangle cattle.
No,
That's
I don't enjoy
background.
that, and I try not to get involved with those projects. As you say, the field is changing, and so we'll see where I end up in 10 years. If I'm alive, what I'll end up doing. But right now, that is not the thing that I would not be hired for that.
Let me pivot and ask you an interesting thing that you just said about you would hire a contortionist or someone with special skills. As a person, uh, and people know me for this because I'm a trick roper, gun spinner, I'm a professional magician, professional clown, all that stuff. Is that because I see this a lot, and I had a manager that said, take all that off of your profile. Why are
No,
you doing it? I
absolutely
go,
not.
because let me tell you that. I go, but wait, you're not getting it. If I'm a weapons expert, I am, and I do stunts and drive, and I'm like, I do these things and I'm a professional cowboy. If you got Joe and Will and they're giving you a great read, both of them, is that not going to be a deciding factor if one guy has training and knows what to do and the other one doesn't?
Well, you hope that it would be a consideration. What I think is that a smart actor has several resumes. Okay. And they have their theater resume. If they do theater, they have their film, television, or camera resume. But on each of those, and I've always seen this on the bottom of resumes, is aside from is
Special
special
skills.
skills. And
Mhm.
not only special skills, what do you do? What's your level doing it? right? Speaking a language, a musical instrument, a sport, a
Right.
trade thing, whatever you have that could be of interest. Plus, what I find, well, especially in a callback when everybody's present, when we sit with someone's resume whose work we're watching and we see something that's odd or of interest, like what you're describing you do, it's not something you see every day.
No.
That's a way for someone who's behind the camera, someone in the production part of it, to bring you into a conversation on top of your acting ability. It makes you a human with, so I find that that can't hurt you to put special skills. Now, if you are someone who only has special skills
That's
and
different.
no experience, well, of course, obviously that's a different thing. But
Yeah.
if you have special skills and they're not just, I'm conversational French, but something specific, again, everything for camera is specific, that
Yeah.
shows that you have a real skill in something, even if it doesn't pertain to the specific thing you're auditioning for. It's an interesting thing for people to read, and you never know when it's going to come up. And when I have a call for a special skill, I always ask, and the agents, and I always look myself, now that we have online apps, for people who have that listed, because I'd rather give an actor the job who happens to have this other skill that doesn't require acting per se,
Right.
than give a stranger in the community who doesn't rely on me for work,
Right.
right?
Well,
Just my
well,
community. It's my
right. One,
community.
I think the reasoning that I think, because I used to tell people when I'm coaching them on the business of show business, which most actors don't understand the word business is in show business, is that I say if you are talking about someone doing something naturally, because look, I always tell actors, they go, "What do you think I should do?" I go, "Stop acting, and just be yourself," and that's all you want to do. But if you are not comfortable in that skill, like riding a horse, and I can tell you horror stories of people getting on set going, "Yeah, I ride." Sure you do. And I used to train people on mechanical bulls. I'm talking about like real. I used to own Mechanical Bull Association. So I trained Beyonce, a lot of really well-known people on how to really ride mechanical bulls. And people go, "Oh yeah, I can do it. I did that at the Charlie's Rowdown." And I'm like, yeah,
Not
but
quite the
are
same
you
thing.
comfortable? Because if you're not comfortable, you're going to be in this mode where your body's trying to like, you're going like this all over, whatever you're doing, and you're not really able to be yourself because you're so worried about everything else. You need to be, and that's why I tell this story about General Marshall and Oppenheimer. I spent 3 months training, learning everything about General George C. Marshall. I even contacted the library, who is a very good friend of mine now, and spent 3 months going, what does he wear? What did he do? Why would he do this? I listened to this. I did that. And they go, why do you study all this? I go, because I'm going into a room with five A-listers and I want to make sure that I'm here, not here. And in order for me to do that and understand that, I had to know what he was thinking, what he would do, understand the military the way I did. And I say that because it is so important, in my opinion, for an actor to really get past all of that so they aren't sitting there wondering, oh gosh, am I holding? You know what I mean?
It takes away from the performance if you don't feel confident in the action.
Yeah. Or
But
you're
also
acting.